On artificial intelligence, we are in the lead, and we must stay in the lead. We must not offshore artificial intelligence, as we once did with computer chips and other critical technologies. AI has the power to reshape economies, governments, national security, entire societies. And it must be the United States and our closest allies that lead the way to ensure people's rights are respected, their safety is protected, and their data is secure.
On Monday, the Commerce Department issued AI export controls aimed at ensuring China does not gain access to U.S. tech through third-party countries. The new regulations are meant to keep AI, that's artificial intelligence, from fueling Beijing's military development. Watch this clip.
President Joe Biden is reportedly planning one last AI chip restriction that would hit major companies, including the second most valuable in the world, NVIDIA. It's his final push to control the spread of U.S.-made chips to China and Russia before leaving office. According to Bloomberg, the curbs are expected to have a broad and expansive impact. The U.S. is trying to restrict advanced chip sales to data centers on entire countries and specific companies. Bloomberg sources say the goal is to concentrate AI development in allied nations and urge global businesses to center on American standards. They say the regulations could be announced as soon as Friday and would come in a 3-tier system, granting virtually unlimited access to American chips for key allies, while adversaries would be largely cut off.
Okay, so for some context, this is literally happening in the last week of the Biden administration, and it's closely related to the case of TikTok that is currently in front of the Supreme Court. We'll get to that in a minute. So again, the Biden administration is wanting to place restrictions on the export of computer chips developed in the United States that power artificial intelligence systems in order to prevent rivals like and especially China from accessing the advanced technology. There are 3 tiers of countries here, with China and Russia being the most restricted from buying the most powerful, quote unquote, closed AI models, while the rest of the world now also faces caps on computing power. The framework proposed raises concerns from chip industry executives who say that the rules would limit access to the existing chips used for things like video games. And as many as 120 countries will be restricted from using the chips for data centers and AI products. Mexico, Portugal, Israel, and Switzerland are among the nations that would have limited access. Before we dive in any further, I'd love for you to take a minute or a second actually, to like and share this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And once you subscribe, click on the bell. That way you'll be sure to be notified anytime a new video drops. If you're listening to this in podcast form on any one of the podcast platforms, please follow the show and give us a 5-star review, because it really does help other people find the content. All right. Which chips are being restricted? Well, the rules restrict the export of chips known as graphics processing units, or GPUs, which are specialized processors originally created to accelerate graphics rendering. Although they're typically known for their role in gaming, the ability of GPUs, such as those made by US-based industry leader NVIDIA, to process different pieces of data simultaneously made them valuable for training and running AU models. OpenAI's ChatGPT, for example, is trained and improved on tens of thousands of GPUs. AI companies like NVIDIA have already been affected by the caps on GPUs. And although there are exceptions for universities and medical institutions and research organizations that are designed to accelerate low-risk shipments of U.S. chips globally, there will be other restrictions elsewhere. So model weights are also being controlled, and these are AI models trained to produce meaningful material by being fed large quantities of data, and these affect algorithms. This is to ensure the most advanced AI is developed and deployed in trusted and secure environments. Now, not everybody, this should not surprise us, agrees with the proposed restrictions. NVIDIA, Oracle, and industry groups say the rules will undermine American competitiveness and hinder innovation. NVIDIA may face a significant revenue threat due to these restrictions to limit the global distribution of these coveted processors, analysts and investors have said this week. The regulations limit AI chip exports to most countries, except, again, for a select group of close U.S. allies. But there's a lot more to this than how using chips can make video games better. This is a national security issue, potentially. Chinese hackers, we now know, breached a U.S. government office that reviews foreign investments for national security risks. The theft underscored Beijing's very serious interest in spying on U.S. government offices that has broad power to block Chinese investment in the United States. The breach was part of a broader incursion by the hackers into the Treasury Department's unclassified system. Here's more on that hack.
The Treasury Department is calling this a major breach of its systems by China state-sponsored hackers. In a new letter to Congress, the department says it learned earlier this month that hackers were able to infiltrate a third-party software provider, remotely log into Treasury employees' workstations, and gain access to unclassified documents. The Treasury says it's no longer using that software provider, and it's now working with the FBI to determine the extent of this breach. Just last week, though, the Biden administration sounded the alarm about the threat from Chinese hackers targeting critical U.S. infrastructure. In a massive cyber attack last month, a China-backed group called Salt Typhoon hacked into 9 telecommunications companies, including AT&T and Verizon, and got access to the cell phones and texts of high-level administration officials. It is not clear if that breach is related to this Treasury Department hack, but officials say the reality is that networks in both the public and private sectors need to strengthen their defenses.
The problem is, though, that more restrictions do not necessarily lead to more safety. Will it be enough? Very possibly not. Check out this clip.
I'm also going to ask, how successful have the current restrictions been? The export ban did prevent China from getting the highest end American chips, but it did not stop China from catching up in the AI race, proving that necessity is the mother of invention. Now, despite not having access to NVIDIA's best performing GPUs, a Chinese research lab called DeepSeek was able to build an AI model using dumbed down GPUs that beat OpenAI's GPT-4 on certain benchmarks. That just shocked the AI community. Here's what Perplexity CEO Arvind Srinivas told me.
But the reality is some of the details in DeepSeek V3 are so good that I wouldn't be surprised if Meta took a look at it and incorporated some of that in Llama 4.
So advanced that our best American companies could use it as a blueprint. That is a shocking statement. In other words, the existing chip restrictions, they did nothing to slow down China's pace. It only made them more creative and more efficient. They backfired.
OMG. No, sorry. I felt compelled to use another acronym. Honestly, I listened to that clip a few times. It took me a minute or two to figure it out. But basically, this is like something out of the Terminator, right? The machines are creating better machines. So this is a serious concern because it appears that by limiting access to our technology, China and other countries, or I should say companies in countries like China, have been challenged to come up with better, more creative systems, which they've done, which sort of defeats the purpose of the restrictions. So we need to figure something out here. And right now, as I mentioned earlier, the United States Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments in the case, deliberating a law that mandates that TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, either divest from the app or face a U.S. ban, which would come into effect on January 19th. That is this Sunday. That would be, a week from now. The Chinese government is essentially causing concerns that they have way too much access to user data, which creates national security problems. The law will decide if TikTok can still exist in the United States. And based on the way the justices were responding, it's not necessarily looking too good for TikTok or users of TikTok. However, one particular user of TikTok seems to be in favor of at least delaying the ban, if not doing away with it entirely. You may remember that Donald signed an executive order back in 2020 to ban TikTok. That ban was overturned in the courts, but he's since changed his mind and has asked the court to postpone the current ban. He's also filed a brief with the court in which he claimed that he is operating with a, quote, powerful electoral mandate, unquote. He also described himself as being uniquely positioned to resolve the issue. And this is actually pretty embarrassing because he is, quote, one of the most powerful, prolific, and influential users on social media in history. Just in case you didn't think that was too over the top, one of the main reasons that he wants to keep TikTok in operation is because he is a quote unquote star. Oh, you ridiculous child. There's more though. Just this weekend, Donald's friend and Shark Tank co-host Kevin O'Leary met at Mar-a-Lago. Currently, O'Leary is campaigning to purchase TikTok. I'm pretty sure a deal has not yet been reached, if it even can be, but that is in the works. And just remember what Donald said during his kind of off the charts press conference at Mar-a-Lago last week. He likes TikTok, and that just may be enough to keep it around. Take a look at this clip.
How do you plan to stop the ban on TikTok next month?
We'll take a look at TikTok. You know, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok has something to do with it.
Actually, Vice President Kamala Harris won the youth vote from 52 to 46%, which, by the way, is terrible. She really needed to perform much better. And it's actually a little shocking that the so-called youth vote, which is voters between the ages of 18 and 29, would have voted on the basis of a TikTok ban, considering they're already dealing with the very real ban on women being fully recognized human beings. Anyway, last month, it was announced that a $100 billion investment in the United States was forthcoming from Japanese technology company SoftBank. The chip design firm ARM is one of SoftBank's biggest investments. And since taking the company public in September 2023, its stock price has nearly tripled. ARM is poised to give the firm a key role in the rise of artificial intelligence. SoftBank also recently invested $500 million in OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT. So with all of this money floating around and all of these competing interests, and with an individual being sworn into office next Monday who does not care at all about national security. In fact, he's one of the greatest threats to American national security in this country's history. It remains to be seen what happens. If it is all left up to Donald and his incoming administration, it's very, very likely that our national security interests will be left to the highest bidder. We will keep you posted.